So, welcome back to another episode of the Web3 Insights Podcast, where we sit down with founders and builders shaping the future of Web3. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Luke Barwikowski, who is the founder and CEO of Pixels, one of the most successful Web3 games in the world, with over 10 million players, I believe. So, Pixels is redefining what Web3 gaming can look like by, combining casual gameplay, sort of real digital ownership, and player-first economy. In 2024 alone, Pixel generated over 20 million in revenue, with the majority flowing back to the community and creators, all without ads. So, Luke started coding at 12 years of age, sold his first app at 18, and today leads a company tackling one of the hardest problems in crypto gaming, and that's how to make play to earn actually sustainable and fun. So, in this episode, we're going to dive into the journey behind Pixels, look at the lessons that have been learned from scaling, Web3 games, obviously what didn't work as well, what finally did, and, where crypto gaming is basically heading next. So let's get into it. Luke, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Absolute pleasure. To kick things off, for anyone new to Pixels, how do you explain what it is and why it matters in simple terms?
Well, Pixels is a whole ecosystem now, but it started off with just one game. And that game was kind of like if Stardew Valley was an MMO and had a real economy put into it. So we started there. We started building that in 2021. It's crazy. Pixels has been going for like almost 5 years now. And we had a different approach to building where we wanted to build and ship often and build in public and basically just try things out. We were pretty fascinated by the idea of Web3 gaming before we even came into this space, but we also saw Axie come and maybe didn't succeed in like the way that people had wanted to in the first iteration of Web3 games. So we came into Web3 gaming kind of as gaming industry outsiders, and we decided we were going to try to build out a Web3 thesis more like a startup where we build in public, we see what sticks and what doesn't. And it led to a lot of advantages compared to the traditional model of building games where you just kind of do a pre-production, you get the perfect spec, and then you spend 4 years building it and then release it after. And as we've been building, we've found a lot of things that work inside of Web3 gaming and a lot of things that don't. We've tried everything that you can possibly imagine when it comes to making on-chain economies and games actually work. And, now we've kind of settled into a new thesis. So where the Pixel ecosystem is at now is basically, we've been doing a little bit of publishing. There's a few games in the Pixel ecosystem. We have a new game that's coming out. And we're also transitioning to more of a platform as well, too, that supports the core games that we have. So on the platform side, really what we've been trying to figure out is the concept of play to earn. We have a strong thesis that basically anytime you start to bring in elements of a game on chain, your game will become play to earn, whether you like it or not. It's something that a lot of devs end up fighting when they start to bring in on-chain components to their games where they don't want their game to be play to earn. But truthfully, that's just how people will play the game, whether you like it or not, when you start to add on-chain components. So we've built kind of a whole platform and framework to support this for our own games first and foremost, because this is hard stuff to actually pull off. And we're opening it up to other games pretty soon as well, too. But basically, that's kind of the gist. Like the core mission statement at Pixels still hinges around solving this concept of play to earn. And honestly, I don't really like saying the word play to earn as much as I used to anymore. Like really the concept is we're building out a new way to reward users. And it's almost like a new type of ad network where the ad is a task or a rewarded task. And we want people to do certain actions inside of our gamer ecosystem that might help our gamer ecosystem grow, right? Like that's the thesis of play to earn.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, props to you guys. 5 years in this space is fantastic achievement for a lot of businesses. I've worked in the space for 7 years now and seen companies sort of come and go. So, credibility to you guys, and I think it's credible to the product and that sort of trial and error approach that you guys have taken to really refine it to what it's become today. Your background is deeply technical. How did that early experience shape the way you've built Pixels, as a product and a company as well?
Yeah, so even releasing a Web3 game back in 2022 was extremely difficult.
Mm.
We were able to get from idea to shipping a live Web3 game with tokens and NFTs inside of it. The NFT integration happened after like 4 months of development, which that was even hard to do. We got like a live token withdraw deposit into the game within a year, right? Like that timeline is crazy if you actually think about it. So we were first to market after like a wave of 2021 funding that went into Web3 games to like build out the next generation. So there was kind of a gap for a couple of years after Axie Infinity had its come up for new Web3 games to come out. And yeah, me being technical then was a big advantage because I was able to really precisely lead that stage of growth and development there.
Mm.
Then the next stage of development and like where we're at now is essentially what we're building out like really, really complicated ad tech in order to actually make this play to earn work. Like this is kind of where I've settled now, where it's like, okay, play to earn is possible and feasible. But on the back end, it does look like an ad network where there's essentially like a bunch of concepts that we have around like reward attribution, prediction, segmentation. Essentially, what we found is to make play to earn work, you need a huge technical back end that just like most teams can't be expected to build. So that's where like the technical brain on my end maybe has an advantage as a founder right now as well too.
Listen, some really exciting stuff. Obviously, Pixels has crossed 10 million players, which is rare in Web3 gaming. What do you think resonated most with players compared to maybe other play to earn models out there?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is we did bring play to earn back and we had a new novel way to do it that was smarter than what came before. Now, ultimately, the way that Pixels had launched in 2024 wasn't the most sustainable way to do it, but it was miles ahead of anything else that had come before it. We basically invented new systems that had much tighter control on inflation of tokens. We had better ways to target token distribution through gameplay at the time, even though it wasn't really the full expression of what we needed to do. So I think that's why. Also, moving to Ronin at the time and working with Ronin, the founders of Axie Infinity, we were able to reactivate a lot of users who were already onboarded into Web3 games, who knew and were interested in them, and we didn't have to fight the friction of convincing people why a Web3 game could be interesting, which is something that we're moving, we're re-coming back into as we're figuring out the next stage of growth for Pixels because we kind of saturated the Web3 gaming market now. We've had like full exposure there. But in order to grow in the next stage, we can't be constrained to strictly a Web3 market. We need to build for the market of gamers, right? And build something that they want to. So yeah, moving on to Ronin and working with Axie Infinity at that time was a huge growth hack. But now we have to solve that problem again for a much bigger audience this time.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. One of the biggest shifts Pixel made was moving away from short-term monetization. What went wrong with early reward model? What did you learn from that period as well?
So Pixels has been pioneering this metric called return on reward spend. Essentially, when you have a Web3 game, again, no matter what you do, um, if you have some kind of currency mint, which every game does, even if it's a hard currency, like if you're selling gems in Clash of Clans, they still mint that currency. Um, you will be giving out some kind of reward inside of the game, right? And we like to measure monetization against the amount of rewards that we get inside of or give out inside of the game. And we call it return on reward spend. So essentially, what most Web3 games find is that if they have any on-chain component, their return on reward spend will be very low. It'll be like 10% baseline for most Web3 games where
Yeah.
they'll give out $1 of rewards and get 10 cents back in spend. Really, return on reward spend is interesting because it's actually a measurement of LTV almost, right? And a lot of Web3 games actually technically have negative LTV in those circumstances, right? But it's still a really helpful metric because no matter what you do when you start to add rewards into a game loop, it will change the way that people spend, they monetize, and their behaviors. So you kind of have to reconsider the way that you monetize and the way that you give out rewards because of that, right? So Yeah, what we've been working on is basically increasing this metric, return on reward spend, over the last few years. We started at a relatively low return on reward spend. I think it was hovering at like 0.2 to 0.3 for a long time, and now we've gotten the game up to being consistently over like 2 return on reward spend. So that means actually we have like a dollar LTV from all of our users after giving them rewards and making them feel like the rewards are worth it, right? Which is a really, really tricky problem to solve. When you start to add in financialization into the game loop, the game changes and the game psychology changes. Even if you had a whale inside of a Web2 game and you bring them into this Web3 game, because there's a real money component inside of the game loop, it's going to change the way that they interact with the game and the way that they spend. Because if you have a potential payout, obviously you don't want to spend more money typically than you're getting the payout unless you really get a lot of entertainment out of it. So the experience in the Web3 game, surprisingly enough, needs to be actually even higher than the Web2 game if you're having people be okay with missing out on a certain prize pool or rewards or all of this. And this is where reward targeting and treating rewards more like an ad network is extremely important, because really what you should be doing is you should be precisely giving out rewards to the right people in the right amounts, right? Because the other issue that happens too, when you start to give out rewards inside of a game, is they'll get abused and people will try to take them all for themselves, basically. And it won't be a very efficient distribution of rewards. So yeah, this is kind of the like core tech and problem that we've been working on.
Yeah, no, nice. You've spoken sort of openly and mentioned briefly there about bringing in Web2 monetization strategies and realizing they didn't translate well. Was there anything specifically that failed, and was there any sort of reason why?
Yeah, a good example is we brought in like a lot of Web2 live ops strategies into our game, and they were actually really effective. Like we were able to monetize with in-game events really well, like selling cosmetics and doing like limited time events with high urgency. And it's funny because on all metrics with Web2, we were extremely successful, where we had a lot of spend, we didn't give out that many rewards. But when you start to think about it, to the Web3 user, that actually feels pretty bad when there's a lot of spend and very few rewards. So this is why the monetization models inside of Web3 games need to be a little bit different. Like honestly, it's not an unsolved problem. There's a lot of examples that you can pull from out in things like online poker or all of that. Rake-based models, like social tournaments, these things. But yeah, basically just bringing in strict Web2 monetization tactics will churn users, make them feel like they lost, and it's not a good feeling for the end user, and it's a bad user experience.
Sure. You Pixels generated over 20 million in revenue in 2024. A large portion going back to the community. How do you balance sustainability while rewarding players meaningfully?
Yeah, so again, this return on reward spend metric is probably the most important one.
Hmm.
And also thinking about, the ecosystem like GDP. So like, what do I want to, do for the best of the ecosystem? One, like there's really one North Star metric for the ecosystem. We want to increase top line revenue month on month, year on year, right? And how
Yeah.
do we do that? Well, we need, more users and more spend per user, like a combination of the two. How do we get more users and more spend per user? Well, we need good games that can monetize. We need to give out rewards efficiently, and we need to, target rewards in a way that will lead to growth for new users as well, or at least leave a certain margin that's available for user acquisition on top, right?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Nice. Um, Community stories like Master Kamote, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Farmer Lolito, are quite powerful. How intentional is Pixels about enabling real world impact through gameplay?
Well, that's one of the most motivating parts about play to earn and like the whole puzzle that we're solving here. It's a more fair system than what currently exists out there. Like right now, all the ad networks that exist, basically what they'll do, or even the mobile games, they'll collect a bunch of data on you, they'll sell it without you knowing, and they'll try to extract as much money out of you as possible. And the rewarded ad model or the play to earn method is kind of cutting out these like really parasitic middlemen that are basically trying to max extract out of these users and don't care about these users as possible. And instead going direct to the consumer saying, hey, we have certain goals that we want to achieve inside of our ecosystem. Instead of us paying Meta or Google or Facebook for this user acquisition spend, like what if we just gave this directly to the users, right?
Yeah.
Um, and again, it's hard to pull that off. There's a lot of
Mhm.
nuance there, but that's the dream and the vision because it unlocks amazing outcomes like those stories. Like somebody literally bought their own piece of real life land from
Yeah.
playing pixels, right? Somebody's helping
It's
their
amazing.
community with like, martial arts and stuff too. Like it opens up like so much social good if you can pull it off. So it's motivating to see and hear those stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. I love hearing about that, and yeah, believe it's the way forward. Let's talk about the ecosystem expansion. Can you walk us through Chubkins and why testing mobile native casual gaming is so important for reaching non-crypto users?
Yeah, so essentially what we found is, in the search for more growth for the ecosystem, we need to expand beyond just the crypto audience, right? And
Hmm.
honestly, being crypto is actually really harmful to an image or a brand's image and
Yeah,
perception, right? Just the mention of crypto when we're running paid ads for Chupkins or for other things that we're doing inside of the game and ecosystem right now leads to a significantly worse conversion, which tells us that normal audiences really are not liking crypto right now. They feel like it's a scam. They feel like there's a lot of bad, even though there are honest teams building still, right? So the crypto image is really hurting teams rather than helping. And that's
yeah,
why we're trying to create new and better experiences that reach out to these audiences where they don't even know that they're using crypto. And we're trying to really only bring the best parts and the best concepts that we've learned about over the last 2 years that help grow any game. And again, the crypto is not the important part here. The play to earn and the rewarded play is the important part, right? That whole
yeah,
concept behind it. Now, we can still support a crypto ecosystem, but finding success through products and growth and marketing is the most important part and the foundation that sets up all the other stuff.
yeah. No, absolutely. What is there like a specific method that um you've looked at, or sort of like how do you go about attracting non-crypto users? Because my take on it would be like if I just spoke to someone or a friend, let's say for argument's sake, who isn't in crypto or understands the way crypto works, I think sometimes that they could potentially look at something like this and see the word Web3 or crypto within it and potentially be scared off. Is there like a particular method that you take towards that?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, don't even mention the crypto or the Web3 and don't make them even know.
Mm,
So, what you need to attract these people is you need a great experience that's better than anything else that they're currently using, or at least offers some unique value prop. And honestly, if the crypto is not offering a unique enough and good enough experience compared to what exists inside of Web2, you shouldn't have it be crypto. Now, crypto does do some interesting things, like instant
mhm.
cash outs, instant settlement. That is an interesting value prop for Web3 gaming. On the company side, the fact that we have a token that we can give out as a reward as we're trying to solve it in terms of real money is interesting too. But yeah, the big thing is you need games that are fun for these people to use. You need a value prop, and Web3 does enable the economics of play to
For
earn before
sure.
we actually solve in the real money in the beginning stages. And it does have some unique value prop to the user where it's like, okay, if they wanted to cash out instantly, they could. But we're also not going to like make our users use crypto if they don't want to. We might not even
Yeah.
mention it at all.
Yeah. No, sounds good. So, Stacked sounds like a big infrastructure play rather than, just a game feature. What problem are you solving for developers and players with, this rewards backend?
Yeah, I mean, Stacked is just basically ad network that I've been talking about that we're building out around the concept of a rewarded play ad. So essentially, we will let users come into our app and we'll show them a bunch of different tasks that they can do every single day. And they'll have the option to do things like play a game, sign up for a new social app, connect something, and we'll show them tasks every single day that they can do to earn points, money, crypto, gift cards, a bunch of different things basically. So we're dog fooding our own product. Basically, all of the Pixels games we have now will be switching to Stacked. So if you want to earn rewards in the Pixel ecosystem, you'll go into Stacked. They'll give us a certain amount of DAU there in the beginning stages. We also have third parties onboarding into it now too. Now, why an external developer would want to use this is because basically, one, you can turn any money into a rewarded play, or you can turn any game into a rewarded play game that way, and add in rewards for your users that can be translated into real money. What we've
Yeah.
seen across the board is whenever you have rewarded play inside of a game, it decreases your CAC on all channels. So if you can mention that you have rewards inside of your game on TikTok or Instagram, your customer acquisition cost will drop dramatically. And not only that, like it helps retain users and it helps increase the LTV of each user as well too. So essentially it should be a no-brainer for games once we get some proof points out where it just makes the economics of the games better. Players are happier when they actually are getting rewarded for the stuff they were doing. And that's the goal. But again, to pull this off, you have to be so precise with how you're giving rewards to users, and you have to only give them out in the right situations. So you're not wasting anybody's time or money, basically.
Yeah, no, for sure. From everything, that you've tested so far, what actually works when onboarding Web2 players into Web3 without, sort of overwhelming them?
Again, I think the like onboarding Web 2 and the Web 3 is not really what we're trying to accomplish. Where it's like, I
Hmm.
actually don't care if the user that we're bringing into our ecosystem is Web 2 or Web 3.
Yeah.
Honestly, like having them Web 2 is probably better in a lot of circumstances, right? Now, is some of the stuff that we're doing going to help like the ecosystem that we're building out, right? When it comes to the Web3 ecosystem, that's an important thing to talk about. And like, yes, we have ways to do that. Like if you want to participate in like helping secure this like whole pixel protocol that secures and like powers Stacked, you can go and stake and you'll get like rewards just for staking, right? From like that are from certain agreements that Stacked has made with the Pixel Foundation, right? So the success of Stacked might help that, but like the actual end user, I don't really care about them using Web 2 or Web 3 or not. Like I care, are we using our infrastructure and the like things that we've built to attract new users? And is the value prop that we have that might be powered by Web3 in certain aspects like good enough to these users? So for these Web 2 users, we know they love rewards. Like they don't mind play to earn. They like the concept of play to earn. It's very attractive to them.
Yeah.
Like whenever we mention play to earn in an ad, it performs significantly better. They
Interesting.
hate crypto though. Whenever we mention crypto, the ad performs so much worse. So what that tells us is like the concepts that crypto have been introducing are all solid. Just
Yeah.
the actual crypto is the part that's off-putting people.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Looking ahead for this year, obviously January start of 2026. Is there anything exciting on the roadmap for you guys this year? Anything that viewers or your players should be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, the Stacked app will go live pretty soon. We're shooting for a February release, which would
Nice.
be great if we can do that. And then we'll start to scale Chubkins also. Chubkins is a new app that we're making that's going to kind of test the thesis that we have around this type of play to earn model. I'm very excited about it. We'll probably pour a good amount into user acquisition around this app. And yeah, it looks very promising.
Awesome. Sounds great. Finally, final question for founders building in Web3 gaming today. What hard-earned advice would you give them based on what you've seen succeed and fail at Pixels?
Yeah, I mean, ask yourself honestly, like, what is the Web3 doing and accomplishing? How does this actually make the experience better for the user? I
Yeah.
think a lot of people in Web3 gaming didn't really think about that as much as they should be. It's just like, oh, we'll make it Web3 and we'll add ownership. Like, why does ownership actually make this better?
Yeah.
And you
Agreed.
have to think about better, not just for you, but also for the user, but also for the business too. Like, both of those things have to work together. There's going to be long-term tension. Like, one of the issues with Web3 gaming for a while was promising, ownership without, thinking about the business economics behind it too, right? And that creates a tension between the user and the game. These two things have to work together and be harmonious if you actually want it to work in the long run, right? Otherwise, like, one of the sides will break their promises eventually.
Yeah. 100%. I think that's fantastic advice. Luke, this conversation has been great. Thank you so much for coming on. What you and the team at Pixels are building really in my opinion, shows what's possible when gameplay, community and sustainable economics are aligned. So for anyone listening, if you want to explore Pixels, learn more about the ecosystem, or follow Luke's journey, we'll include all the links in the show notes. So do go and check them out. If you've enjoyed this episode, then please make sure to like, share, and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube. Share it with someone interested in the future of gaming, and stay tuned for more conversations with builders pushing Web3 forward. Thank you so much for listening to Web3 Insights. Luke, thank you again for your time, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it, man.